am stepping down as maid of honor because my brother's fiancée wants me to completely change my appearance for her wedding. I've had enough of being belittled. I won't shrink myself to fit her vision. My brother, Aaron, who's 38, is brilliant academically, but when it comes to matters of the heart, he can be quite naive. I'm not upset with him for this, and I certainly don't want to cause him any pain. However, Heather, 27, is truly a Sith Lord of a woman, powerful, manipulative, and quite ugly beneath her polished exterior. It's even more frustrating because I'm the one who introduced them. Heather and I'm 32, first connected while playing D&D and stayed in touch after our group dissolved. She met Aaron at my birthday party, and they dated in secret for a year before revealing their relationship to me and our shared friends. They got engaged at my next birthday party, and Aaron asked me to be his best woman, a female best man, because we've always been incredibly close. Heather, though, frowned at him and declared it was ridiculous, stating I should obviously be her maid of honor since we're friends and women typically stand on the bride's side. The moment became awkward. I reassured them that I was happy to stand for them on either side, explaining that ultimately, it was about them as a couple, not individual roles, and whatever they decided was fine with me. I realized now I was incredibly blind. I could meticulously detail all the warning signs that should have indicated she was far more trouble than she was worth, even if she were adorned in diamonds. But my brother had been blissfully happy, and I suppose I just missed all the subtle cues. The immediate issues were that Heather assumed the maid of honor role also meant being the wedding planner, the primary contact for the bride, a complimentary makeup artist, and the one responsible for covering the bridesmaid dresses and the bachelorette party expenses. I tried to find a middle ground by agreeing to do the makeup for free, as I'd done some modeling in my 20s and knew how to handle it. I also offered to help both her and my brother plan the wedding. However, I stated I couldn't financially pay for all the dresses she wanted. I'd pay for my own, but not the others or the bachelorette party. So, I offered to cover one or the other, and she chose the dresses, which were more expensive, and I paid for them without a fuss. She then made all the bridesmaids, except me, pay for the entire bachelorette trip, even those who couldn't attend. Afterward, she publicly criticized me in the group chat, essentially apologizing for the trip's cost since I wasn't financially contributing. This led to the other girls asking me how and why I ended up not paying anything. Incidents like this kept occurring. I need to pause here and mention that my brother is a senior staff engineer at a major technology company and teaches programming at a prominent university, so he earns a substantial income. When I asked him why he wasn't helping with wedding expenses, he looked incredibly puzzled and asked what I meant. I immediately clammed up, realizing I'd made a mistake. He then explained that Heather insisted on covering her half of the wedding expenses, and they would jointly pay for shared elements like the cake and venue. To show her critics, she wasn't marrying him for his money. I know I was wrong to intervene there. I admit there's more, but I don't want this to be a novel, so I'll jump to the part where my actions might be questionable. I hosted a planning party for the bridesmaids and Heather, as she wanted. We sat working on various small tasks and enjoying plenty of wine when one of the girls, Amber, 20, asked if she could change her hair color. Her own wedding was approaching, and she'd secured a coveted, long waitlisted spot at a salon to dye her hair. She wanted to go red. Note, I am black and use weave to achieve crimson red twists. Amber mentioned she wanted a shade similar to mine and that it complemented my skin tone. Heather chuckled slightly at that, and I looked at her with a questioning expression. She said it was fine and that she was no bridezilla, but she'd prefer only one of us to look that tacky. I felt hurt because Heather had known me for years before I went red and had even told me back then how great I looked and that I glowed. Now I was tacky. I asked her if she truly meant it that way, and she shrugged, stating, "It's about the people, not how good they look." She claimed I didn't understand, and the other girls started chiming in. Heather simply said, "Oh my God, calm down. I didn't mean anything wrong. I won't let you ruin my wedding entirely. It's really okay. We're all going to start looking different. In our 30s, etc." I was the oldest of all the girls there. I sort of chuckled it off, mentioning that Heather was the one who often complimented me on how youthful I still looked, like when I did fashion modeling, nothing major, just commercials, and small local runways, as it was once my dream to be like a Victoria's Secret model or something. And she snorted something like, "You can't do runway now, and you know it." At this point, I directly asked her if she had something she wanted to say to me. She replied that since I had been so sensitive about her asking me to do things like being the wedding planner and paying for the party for her wedding, she didn't want to bring it up. But she wanted me to change my look back to when you were so pretty, like when we met. That meant returning to my natural light brown hair, losing weight. I am 5 feet 7 inches and 120 pounds, and wearing shapewear to fit into a smaller dress. Then she said, "Look at these lovely ladies, right? It would mean a lot to me if you all could shine up there." I said that was hurtful and that I liked how I looked now. I'd had many body image issues trying to achieve that dream in my 20s, skipping meals, drinking too much, and worse, and I hated my body. Now I have curves and I love them. I offered to wear a wig for the wedding if my hair color was an issue, and she just became quiet and changed the subject. To prevent everyone from seeing me get upset, I just shook the wine bottle and laughed, saying it was getting empty and I was going to the kitchen for a fresh bottle. Heather appeared a couple of minutes later and started saying, "Hey, you know I love you no matter how you look, babe." And I just shot back, but I looked tacky. She shrugged and said that's why she didn't want to ask me, because she knew I wouldn't focus on anything other than perceived slights. I handed her the new wine bottle to take in, and I stepped outside to compose myself. It's still on my mind. The wedding is this summer, and I'm irritated with myself for being sensitive. It's unsettling me now. I can't even imagine standing up in front of everyone we know in a bright dress. The maid of honor dress is a different color and cut than the other bridesmaids, in the way I am. But a part of me thinks I'm letting her get under my skin and shouldn't worry about how I look. Regardless, I don't want to be maid of honor. Am I wrong if I step down? I don't even know what I would tell my brother. Sorry for the nerdy references. It's a coping mechanism. My brother has a prenuptial agreement. It wasn't really a matter of trust, but he just thought it would be a clear document they could point to and refute rumors that she was with him for his money, and I'm told she enthusiastically agreed. She doesn't have a full-time job. She works retail and does some theater work as an actor. She lives with her sister and sister's spouse in the city as she is in school. She took a few years gap from high school to college. Her sister is kind of how we met, as she is part of my gaming group. I do not work in software, nor do I make a lot of money compared to my brother. I am single and live alone and make okay money in nonprofit theater to survive. Aaron and I don't have any other family. We've been each other's family after I came out as bisexual and our grandfather disowned me. Aaron went no contact out of support for me. We are also not biological siblings, as Aaron is adopted and I am a miracle baby. Our dad walked out when I was a kid and our mom passed away when I was a teen. I actually never thought about this, but it makes sense. I have barely had time to be with my brother and only get to occasionally text here and there. My brother is great, but I worry if I even try to explain he will get defensive. He's really the only family I have left. When I was in my 20s I was underweight. It was unhealthy. I will never go back to that. I don't want to ever go back to that. I was an unhappy person vying for a goal that wasn't good for me mentally or physically. Heather knew that, which is why it hurt more than if a stranger said it. The other girls did try to speak up, but Heather shut them down quickly. Some even texted me after apologizing for it happening. One backed Heather, but that's the only bridesmaid that isn't somehow a mutual acquaintance or friend of ours, and is Heather's best friend, and she has hated me from the beginning as I am maid of honor instead of her. Actually, she comes from money, and they can make things unpleasant. Her dad is also a raging racist. I am African American, and he didn't like Aaron since he is from outside our country. Update 1: It was devastating, and I admit some of the comments were phrased in a way that truly stung. But ultimately, I was asked if I was okay with Aaron marrying a person who will hurt him, and something in my brain clicked. I love my brother more than anything, and I realize now I was being spineless and selfish not to have approached him with this from the beginning. Since I became maid of honor, Heather monopolized my time. I can pinpoint exact moments I was gradually pushed out of regular contact with Aaron. If I wasn't working or doing my side gigs, all my time was spent on the phone with her or footing the bill at dinners and lunches with her over the wedding. Someone mentioned that she was trying to keep me and Aaron from spending time together, and I realized they were right. Anytime I called him and she was there, she would take the phone to talk wedding stuff, etc. I would be so worn out at the end of my days I wouldn't even reply to texts. I feel so stupid. I was a coward and so afraid of losing my only family I forgot to be family to him. And that's hard to even type, but it's true. Aaron called me early. Apparently, a bridesmaid who was at my house the night I mentioned in my last post, Sophia, 26, who is one of our good friends, suggested he reach out to me. And when he asked why, she didn't elaborate. I didn't realize it, but I have been miserable since that party at my house. I didn't know how much I seemed off. It was brought to my attention how withdrawn I seemed in public and how generally quiet I'd been. Aaron called and asked if I was all right. He said, "I know the wedding is stressful. Heather has been a wreck." I snapped and just started crying and hung up. He was at my place within the hour, and I told him everything. I don't remember seeing him so angry in my life. I am skipping a lot to be brief. He asked me how much I spent on the wedding, and I just handed him my phone with my bank app and the bridesmaid chat all open. He scrolled and asked me why I would not mention this to him. I explained, and he shook his head. He wrapped me in a hug and told me not to worry and ordered us food. After he left, Sophia texted me and Aaron in a new group chat with the three of us some recordings from when she was making TikToks and the like in various bridesmaid events with Heather in the background, and nothing more. I saw it, it indicated. Aaron saw it, but he hasn't said anything yet other than, I will use a fake name for myself as I have the others. Francesca, turn off your phone if you can. I will drop by tonight. I put my phone on Do Not Disturb and am on my couch drinking and waiting. Quick random update. I am a bottle of wine in, so forgive my dyslexia. I am aimlessly scrolling Reddit and Facebook, and Heather has blocked me on Facebook and through an app for my texts. I can see she's texted many times. I have opened nothing and won't until Aaron arrives. In the meantime, I am truly in tears of gratitude over your support and advice. I was never a strong person, that was our mom, but you and my friends make me feel strong, and I cannot express my gratitude. Update 2. I was shocked by how much my notifications exploded, more than the Death Star. Bear with me as I sort through everything, because it's a lot. And I had a lot of wine last night, stress drinking, and today I am slightly paying for that, haha. I'm dyslexic, but will do my best here and try to take my time. First, some background that came up in the comments. Some of you guessed it, but yes, I suffer from an abusive relationship myself. He doesn't even deserve a nerdy fun name, so we will just call him Jeff. Jeff was emotionally and physically harmful to me and encouraged my dieting in my 20s, constantly calling me fat, etc., and that was him being nice. Whenever I tried to leave, he would either intimidate or gaslight me, or both. The short of it is Aaron finally figured out what was happening, as I had gone so low contact with him. And let's just say you wouldn't like Aaron when he's angry. Jeff is so far in my rear view, one would think he's a mirage. Also, I finally watched all the recordings Sophia sent Aaron and me. They are just snippets that she never posted due to lighting, no audio, or something being said that she didn't want on the internet, but with Heather somewhere in it or heard in the background. Not all of it was her hurling insults at me, as some are from outings I could not attend, and she put down others. I mentioned before Sophia is close to both Aaron and I, and we have sibling-like love for one another, and also that Sophia is gay. One video is just Sophia holding her phone down as Heather explains why Sophia's girlfriend can't be at the wedding. You guessed it, Heather checked the homophobe box. She just hit bigot bingo. I am so embarrassed I ever thought she was my friend. Many other videos were Heather's put-downs to me. Sophia even managed to get the tacky conversation from the point after Heather called me tacky the first time on. Update 3. By the time Aaron got back to my place, I was less tipsy and more wine drunk. He looked at me and said I needed to lay off this celestial absinthe, a D&D joke. He looked exhausted. I apologized as I felt I had imploded his life. And he snapped at me something like, "Don't you dare apologize for telling me the truth, ever," and went on about how hurt he was I never told him about any of it. I apologized, and he reminded me of Jeff and how bad things could have gone if he hadn't figured out what Jeff was doing to me. I suffered in silence, and things could have escalated, and he could have lost me. I am all he has, and he would never have forgiven me or himself. I told him he was right, and from now on, no lies and no secrets between us. He made me pinky swear like we did when we were kids. He then told me what happened. He got to his house and listened to every single one of the recordings. He had sent himself items and screenshots from my phone, including all the payments he could find of what I spent, and calculated it. He wrote me a check, and the total is staggering. I don't know if everyone is like this, but sometimes it is hard to keep a running tally on a specific expense over time if you just spend a little here and a little there over a year, but let's just say the check will replenish my lost savings. And then some. He then called Heather over under the guise of wanting to have dinner with her. When she arrived, he was sitting in his living room and acting casual. He was recording the whole conversation on his computer nearby, where he teaches text, so the audio was perfect when he played it back to me, except for when Heather was moving about his house doing things here and there in other rooms as she talked to him, but he stayed on the couch by the desk. He was casual and asked about the wedding planning. She lamented how much there was to do, but how excited she was. He asked about me. How is Francesca doing? I haven't been able to catch up with her. Heather said something about how she is trying to coach me on being a maid of honor, but that it's fine as she just wants him to be happy and have his adoptive sister in the wedding. Aaron and I never used the word adoptive. He is simply my brother, adopted or not. I never knew she used that term when I wasn't around. I can't quite pinpoint why. There's nothing wrong with him being adopted or anything, but it just didn't sit well with me. He kept it chill, asking her questions he already knew answers to, and she clearly would lie to him. He brought up the money, and maybe he should contribute, since he does make more and he doesn't mind. That's when the big lies happened. She claimed to have worked many shifts and saved a lot of money and the like to pay for her half. Then she blamed me for the super expensive bridesmaid dresses, claiming I made a big deal about not looking my best in the much more affordable dresses she had wanted, etc., but made it out like she compromised by yielding to what I wanted even though it was more expensive. I am making this really short, but she made me out to be this diva and would imply how I must talk him into buying me expensive things and that the bachelorette was going to be her biggest expense because I am a city girl and would not stand for a small dinner, which is what Heather wanted. Absolute nonsense, but whatever. Aaron toyed around a little longer before saying, "Hey, you should come listen to this," and started playing some of the videos. You can hear Heather saying things like, "Who is that? That sounds like me, but that's not me." But he kept playing them until she just goes, "What is this about?" He said he knew the truth and was giving her the chance to tell him the truth. She pretended she didn't know what he meant, and Aaron just said, "Allow me to be very clear. I know you've been lying to me, so tell me the truth." She started crying and asking why he's doing this to her, and asked what she did to deserve this, and he got angry. He stated lying wasn't even the worst, but how she treated me, his sister, and Heather's supposed friend. A lot was said between them, but he never raised his voice, and at one point she was screaming, and he said, "I won't even speak to you if you're just going to yell." They argued more, and he told her to get out and that the wedding is off. He said he expects her to pay me and him back for all the expenses, or he will bring her to court. And then, as she was crying, he called her sister, Haley, to tell her that Heather is on her way back home, and laid out everything so Haley knew exactly why they were calling it off. The recording ends there, but according to Aaron, he put Heather's things in her sister's car for her. Yes, I am specifically emphasizing Heather not owning a car, and locked her out. She stayed at the door, crying for a minute, and left. Aaron says he took a moment to cool down when the drama started back up. Out of all the bridesmaids, only one was singularly Heather's and not a mutual friend of ours or a friend of mine or Aaron's. Kim hated me at the very beginning because she is Heather's true best friend and should have been the maid of honor, but made up some nonsense that I threw a fit about not being important in the wedding, so long-suffering Heather bit a knee and made me maid of honor. Kim called Aaron and yelled at him that Heather is at her house heartbroken and depressed because the other girls lied to him to make her look bad. Heather is willing to forgive him and take him back, but he needs to acknowledge the truth. She said Heather would only get mean to defend herself from us ganging up on her, and that Kim witnessed it firsthand. She told him I was the worst one and would make snide remarks to Heather about taking my brother away from me and how now I was alone and had no one. She implied something else that I won't repeat here because it's disgusting, but a hemlock. And Space Mom, if you know, you know. Then she dropped that Heather is also pregnant, and the stress cannot be good for her or the baby. Aaron said that he was almost considering talking to Heather and seeing things from her perspective because he was foolish and did think he had loved her, but it was the last parts that snapped him out of it. He said if Heather perceived she was being attacked, he almost felt bad, but he also knew me well enough to know that I am far too non-confrontational. Then, bam, baby. He told Kim that this is impossible, as Heather's rule was no intercourse until marriage, and he respected that. But now Kim and Heather are claiming that he was drunk one night and he and Heather did the deed, and must not remember, as he was practically passed out for most of it, which I won't even begin to touch here, but I have never felt more angry in my life. Aaron doubts this, as he has never been so drunk he would forget things, and on top of that, why would she keep it a secret from him after the fact? More to it, but those are the cliff notes. It was late, and Sophia couldn't come over, so we FaceTimed her to thank her. She and her girlfriend were eager to hear what happened, and Aaron told the whole thing over again. Sophia's girlfriend, Letty, told Aaron to immediately demand a medical confirmation of pregnancy and a paternity test, as well as if Heather pinned down the when and where. She reminded Aaron that he has cameras all over his home and in the main room, so this can be easily disproven, but to also tread carefully because she can see a mile away that if Aaron refuses to be conned by that Medusa, a dollar home worlder wannabe, she will try to spin it, making him an aggressor. She is pre-law, and her dad's an attorney, so Aaron will call him today and will speak to Heather only through his attorney going forward. We also opened some of Heather's texts to me together and screenshotted each one, but I was sleepy because of the wine and fell asleep. When I woke up, Aaron was on my tablet still reading and screenshotting, and he seemed oddly cheerful. I asked what's up, and he informed me that Heather's sister, Haley, reached out, and she will be going to the doctor with Heather to see if Heather is really pregnant. But Haley is doubtful as she never mentioned it, nor has Haley noticed any signs. It seems Haley is on his side and over her nonsense. He also wants to thank Sophia and the other bridesmaids for helping us, and is thinking about keeping the venue and just having a party in place of the wedding, but he isn't sure. Honestly, I don't think he slept, and he looks awful, So I canceled all my plans and I'm going to make sure he rests and takes care of himself. Nothing has been decided, but he now sees how manipulative Heather can be. I know he is heartbroken, but he's putting on a brave face for everyone, a face I know far too well. Eventually, he will need to mourn the relationship, and I am determined to be here when he does. Update 4: If you had told me a year ago that my life would have more plot twists than a critical fumble followed by a natural 20, I would have laughed in your face. Instead, here I am, typing this with a mug of calm the hell down tea, Sophia's invention, which is basically chamomile with a shot of tequila, and a persistent buzzing of notifications on all my social media. I'm not going to dwell on the past much. Suffice it to say Aaron is not getting married this summer. The scourge of Heather has been banished, and my Venmo account sighs with relief. But I know you all want details, so here's what's new in the Star Wars saga that my personal life has become. First, the Heather fallout. She did show up at the specialist appointment with Haley, her sister, and no surprise to anyone but apparently herself. She's not pregnant. She sobbed to Haley in the exam room, and Haley told me Heather accused the doctor of incompetence, then pivoted to blaming stress for her late cycle. Haley had already packed up Heather's things at their place, tired of her drama and tired of her dragging everyone around her down with her endless quests for sympathy and attention. Turns out, Heather had also orchestrated a pretty major falling out with another friend group of hers in a similar fashion, so her pattern was well consistent. By the end of the week, Heather moved in with none other than Kim. I'm told their friendship is now full of bonding and us against the world speeches, but the other former bridesmaids have a group chat running jokes about the creepy sleepover coven. Aaron's side of things, my brother, my sweet, slightly oblivious code genius, went straight into crisis mode at work, his actual day job, not the family melodrama. He poured his energy into a major product launch, but I know avoidance when I see it. I convinced him to take a real break, to let himself grieve. He's talking to a therapist. He actually joined my D&D campaign as a guest NPC temporarily. He played a charming bard named Debbug who produced R&B ballads about his feelings and once seduced a gelatinous cube. Long story. But the real surprise came when we finally had our not-a-wedding party at the original venue's open date, which Aaron decided to keep after all. Deposits are non-refundable. Might as well level up in real life. It turned into the ultimate group healing session. Weirdly, all the ex-bridesmaids came. We wore our would-be dresses, but decked out with ridiculous accessories. I won the tiara for mock maid of honor. Sophia sported a pride cape. Amber dyed her hair crimson. I almost cried. And we had a Barbie cake with "To New Beginnings" and "No Siths Allowed" piped on top. It was chaos in a good way. People shared stories about toxic ex-friends, swapped red flags to watch for, and did karaoke to Disney villain songs. For a grand finale, Aaron gave an impromptu tech talk about algorithmic bias, then delivered a toast thanking the party for their saving throws against villainous deception. He called me his favorite multi-class fighter and best friend, and I nearly ugly cried all over the signature cocktail menu. Many people did cry, honestly, because it was a giant communal sigh of relief. I hugged every person who'd stuck by me, and Sophia led a round of applause for healthy boundaries. Not a single person missed Heather or Kim's absence. Naturally, there's been fallout. Kim posted a scathing Instagram story about mean girl liars and hashtag fake family, which our party gleefully reviewed over coffee the next morning. Heather's dad sent Aaron a letter threatening legal action for emotional damages, but sent it to the wrong address, to our childhood apartment, now occupied by a couple who probably think they're extras in a Netflix drama. Aaron's lawyer says it's bluster, if anything, more evidence of her family's modus operandi. There's one more development. After the not a wedding, my inbox was flooded not with hate, but job offers. Turns out, a couple of my side gig theater friends, and even a director attended as plus ones. They loved the way I ran the party and the fact I did everybody's makeup for free. Old habits. I've now accepted a part-time contract as a creative consultant for a youth nonprofit and will run a workshop series on body positivity and public speaking for young actors. It's more work, but joyfully so. Aaron and I, well, we've started our own little tradition, Friday game night, alternating between console co-op, board games, and a new D&D group. No villainous NPCs, by order of the dungeon master, me. If you're wondering, yes, it is absurdly nerdy and wonderful. Sophia joined, and so did Letty. And Amber, now with fire engine hair, is our resident sorceress with a penchant for chaos magic. No one is planning to elope anytime soon, but it's the healthiest our found family has ever felt. And yes, I still rock my crimson twists. Aaron's new mantra is, be your own main character. I guess I'm finally living it, not worrying if I fit into someone's fantasy, just rolling the dice and telling my own story. Heather's out there, maybe plotting her next campaign, but it's not my quest anymore. For the first time, I'm not afraid to lose anyone who'd rather see me as tacky or inconvenient than themselves. That was the real win. Update 5. So, both for all of you and for my therapist, here goes. Since the not a wedding party, now legendary. In certain corners of our city's theater and geek scene, my world has continued to spiral into glorious, absurd chaos in mostly fantastic ways. I know many people say when one door closes, the force kicks open a window, but I wasn't ready for an entire weird, sparkling portal to open up and spit out plot twists faster than Heather could gaslight a group chat. To keep with tradition, here's just what's happened since we collectively buried the dark side. 1. Redemption for the almost Sith. Well, okay, maybe not quite redemption, but the Heather and Kim situation developed an unexpected coda. 2 weeks ago, Haley, Heather's long-suffering sister, found me in the lobby during intermission at my theater job, looking about as done as I felt at the end of a 7-hour tech rehearsal. She had news. Heather and Kim had landed themselves in a social media quagmire, lashing out at anybody who'd listen, or more often, anyone who wouldn't. First, the Against the World sleepover club turned fractious fast. Kim's family apparently realized. She was burning through savings on future wedding ideas and Heather's healing retreats, and put their foot down. This led to a very public, very messy blowout at a cafe, which 2 mutual friends, bless their eavesdropping souls, texted me about in real time. Shouting, crying, and an epic table-slapping monologue about stolen spotlights. Heather called Kim a background character. Kim screamed Heather wouldn't know friendship if it bit her in the rear, and the cafe manager handed them both napkins and strong suggestions to leave unless they wanted their own reality show. I'll admit, the old me would have felt guilty about any of this, and I had a gut stir of sadness. But then Amber texted me a photo of the napkin, which read, "May the odds be ever in your favor," and I cracked up so hard someone from the next dressing room checked I wasn't having a crisis. 2. The wedding venue that refused to die. Remember Aaron's idea for using the reserved venue as our own friend healing fest? Apparently, our little story went semi-viral among other planning brides and grooms in the venue's network, thanks to a vendor photographer who posted a blog titled, "Why You Should Party, Not Panic When the Wedding Falls Apart." I got an email from the venue manager who asked if they could quote my toast about leveling up through heartbreak. I gave permission. Then, to my genuinely overwhelming surprise, she offered me a gig as a party consultant for alternative events. I'm now officially a non-wedding event MC on 2 weekends a month. My first client is 2 women whose exes ran off with each other, and their celebration request reads, "Leaned into the plot twists, strong cocktails, and karaoke." If there were ever a sign the universe is on my side, it's that. 3. Aaron's healing arc. My brother is honestly thriving. He did take some time to himself, mostly coding and working out like he was prepping for a training montage. But we hit a milestone last weekend. He got back out there. Well, kind of. Sophia's girlfriend, Letty, introduced us to a game designer, Mia, newly arrived in town. Mia is clever, funny, queer, and unlike our last interloping actor, seems to actually respect boundaries. She and Aaron bonded over a shared weird nostalgia for late 90s computer RPGs. They're not dating exactly, but Mia did challenge Aaron to a hack this vintage Tamagotchi contest, and there was a spark. I overheard Mia say to Aaron, "You deserve a player too who's actually on your side." Reader, I am rooting for them. 4. The class reunion plot. Muffin. Here's the wildest bit yet. Out of the blue, I got a direct message from the woman who used to run the small local modeling agency where I did odd jobs back in my teens. Turns out, she's running a docuseries on body image and self-acceptance for young performers. She'd seen my workshop videos and wanted me on a panel about reclaiming the mirror. I said yes, even though part of me was sure I'd faint on camera. I wore my brightest crimson twists, told the story of how I nearly let a mean girl with a Princess Leia complex bully me into hiding, and ended up hugging another participant after she cried about her own Heather equivalent. The producers planned to air my old Polaroids, fashion dream, underweight, unhappy, and current headshot side by side. It's terrifying, but freeing. If you told me a year ago I'd want to be seen that way, I'd have rolled for self-doubt and taken psychic damage. 5. New party, new moves. We closed the D&D campaign arc this month. Debug the Bard heroically sacrificed his last spell slot to save the party, and everyone at my table cheered like we'd beaten a boss on impossible mode. Amber's new hair is famous at her workplace now. Sophia is working on her own indie LARP. And because karma is real, Even the vendor who sold us bridesmaid dresses invited me to model for a new real-life hero campaign for regular-sized women. I laughed my butt off, but you best believe I accepted, crimson twists, curves, and all. I know Heather's still out there. She posted a public notes app apology about toxic friendships and haters who refuse to grow. 10 out of 10, it would make a great villain monologue for my next stage production. But she's lost power over me. Sometimes people pass through our lives as lessons, not as co-op party members. I learned. My party learned. The dice are in our hands now. This isn't really happily ever after. That's not real, but it's peacefully present after, flanked by fiercely loyal friends, a ridiculous story to tell, and my actual family by my side, no matter what class or color hair I choose next. That's all I ever needed.